What is good, everyone? Welcome to KGW's Sports Extra. My name is Orlando, alongside the one and only Art Edwards. How you feeling, man?
Hey, feeling good tonight.
Another big weekend of sports in the P&W.
Yes.
And we've got to start with the Oregon Ducks. Ranked 6th in the college football playoff, and boy, did they take care of business against Cal. Posting 63 on them.
Yes.
Final score 63-19. What were some of your takeaways from that game, Art?
Well, the offense we know is really, really good, but to put 63 on another quality team, a Pac-12 team, is just amazing. Biggest
win between those two teams in their series, going all the way back to 1899. Just wild to think about. And that helps put it into context in terms of how good they've been overall, and for the Ducks to come out and put up that many points, pretty crazy.
And you know what? They did this with a sloppy first quarter.
Yeah,
because they really kind of, they turned it over, twice in the first quarter?
They did.
So they kind of stumbled out of the gates, but they still were able to hit the accelerator and just really put it on them.
And this is a stingy team that doesn't give up the ball.
No.
Turnovers have been great. They were the best in college football going into this game, and to basically match that total in a quarter.
Yes.
Of course, Dan Lanning was like, oh, yeah, we're going to talk all about that. And now he has motivation for his team, knowing what's ahead in taking on USC at Autzen Stadium, 7:30 kickoff. Your thoughts as we head down the stretch and facing another opponent in USC?
That's going to be a crazy one, I think, because you know what? USC's defense hasn't been able to stop anyone.
Right.
But they decided to fire the defensive coordinator. I think it was probably overdue, but they decided to do that. And a lot of times, we talked about this briefly. You lose somebody like that, and all of a sudden the defense sort of rallies around whoever the new guy is. I mean, Oregon State kind of did that last year. So I would be a little bit nervous about maybe what's going to happen. I still think Oregon will score a lot of points.
Yeah, I believe odds makers, as we're recording this, have this like Oregon around a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yes.
And to your point, you're right that USC hasn't been able to stop anyone all year long, but they do have the #1 pick in the upcoming NFL draft at quarterback, who is just a stud, a playmaker. So they don't have problems scoring.
No.
And playing Washington, that game was competitive throughout and was not decided until the closing minutes. So they've played really well against a team that beat Oregon this year.
So, you just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I think that, it'll be possible that Oregon will score 45 or 50 points. But you just don't know if Oregon can. What do they need? They're going to need 2 stops. 2 times they have to stop them. And if they can do that, they'll be okay. Maybe pressure will be the key. I mean, Caleb Williams runs around like crazy, but maybe if you could put enough pressure on him and sort of keep him in front of you, you can stop them from doing too much.
And so far this season, Oregon's defense has really stepped up.
Yeah, no doubt about that. They've been great against the run, and they've done the job when they're rushing the passer as well.
Before we move on to the next topic, got to ask you, big picture. I know every game or the next game is the big one.
Yes.
But now we're getting down to the wire here.
Right.
Can you just put into context how important this game is for those Ducks?
It feels like to me now every game that the Ducks play is for the season.
Yeah.
Because what they want to do is to get in the college football playoff. And if that's the case, if that's where they want to be, they have to win out. If they're going to get into that Final Four, they have to win out, and that includes the Pac-12 championship game. So they need to. These are just all important.
They got to get there first.
Yes.
And by getting there, you've got to win out in November.
Yep.
And in recent history, November has not been kind to the Oregon Ducks. And a lot of that is credit to the conference because there are a lot of tough teams in the conference, and games get a little tighter, and of course the rivalry game is at the end of all this. So,
absolutely.
Like you mentioned, if they win it all, they've got a path to the Pac-12 championship and even beyond. So, man, I'm starting to feel the Duck fever
a little bit
around the P&W as Oregon continues to vault up the rankings. Now, the Oregon State Beavers, they bounce back after a disappointing loss at Arizona. They go to Colorado, take care of business, 26-19. And for 3 quarters, they were dominant, specifically on defense. Held them to under 80 yards for 3 quarters and really in control for most of that game. And then, Shedeur kind of works his magic and helps kind of build a rally that makes things close. But overall the Beavs take care of business. Your thoughts on their performance?
Yeah, I don't think the Beavs were really ever that worried about what was going on because they had built a large enough lead, and it felt like at any time they would be able to grab control back. You know, they kind of lost control on that crazy 2-point conversion that they tried.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, like, oh, did you see this?
And then Colorado scooped it up, and they go in, and they get the 2 points, and then they scored a couple of touchdowns after that. I think that Oregon State really wasn't in any real danger in the game, and the defense, man, for those first 3 quarters, it was awesome.
That's what you like to see.
Yes.
And all the credit that the defense has gotten. They're starting to get healthier.
Yes.
And that plays a big role in all of this, is getting right, having the experienced guys out there for your biggest games of the year.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think they've set themselves up to be in a good position, and now we find out even more so that the Arizona loss is not a bad loss. Because
they're the real deal.
Beat UCLA, and Arizona finally is ranked. They deserve to be ranked, and we now know that that Arizona game.
That was not a fluke, especially on the road.
No, definitely not.
So now the Beavers have 3 games left. Next up, Stanford. This should be a game that they win at Reser.
Yes.
But is there anything that you're looking forward to in this game, or anything that you need to be wary of as they match up with Stanford?
Yeah, I don't think I'm worried about anything, but I want to see them take care of business quickly. You know what? Get out there.
Don't let them hang around.
No, get out there, get on top of them, and make sure that you just kind of roll through it and take care of business. You know what? Stanford played Oregon really close for a quarter. For a while. They had a couple of long drives.
That's a good point.
And kind of controlled the ball a little bit at the beginning. They might be able to do something like that against Oregon State. But again, I think Oregon State's defense is strong enough, and they've got enough firepower that they should be okay.
I wanted to ask you about, so Damian Martinez hits the century mark again.
Yeah.
They established the run. That is huge.
Yes.
And also Aiden Childs, he's come in and he's provided a spark, especially in this game. So, I mean, Jonathan Smith has a good thing going from the quarterback position where you know that DJ is the guy, but you also have your backup who's getting quality minutes, who's a freshman, and kind of figuring things out so that there is some true depth at that position.
Well, there really is. So they're not going to be in a situation like Utah has been in where, they're having to go to the second and the third quarterback. They're having to go deep, and it's a real problem for them because neither of those guys have played a whole lot. So you see that kind of thing, and you're like, okay, well, Oregon State is doing this really, really well because last year Oregon, Bo Nix goes down with an injury, and Oregon has trouble. They kind of stumble because they didn't have a guy who was as ready as they needed him to be to come in to get out there and play and run the team.
So here we are, the Beavs 7-2.
Yes.
And still have a lot to play for here. If they can win out Stanford, Washington, Oregon, they've put themselves in prime position to steal a spot at the table and get to Vegas for the Pac-12 championship game. So there's still a lot for them to play for.
Still a lot for them to play for, and Jonathan Smith will have them ready. They'll be ready to go. Man, I can't wait to see that game between Oregon and Oregon State. That's going to be something else.
It is a collision course, and it is building up to something special.
It really
is. Let's see what type of havoc the Beavers can wreak over the next couple of weeks. Because if they knock off Washington, things are going to get spicy. And that is not going to be an easy game for UW going into Reser.
Not at Reser, it won't be.
Oh, man, here we go. All right, last but not least, we got to talk about those Portland Trailblazers who are now 3-4. They split games with the Memphis Grizzlies. Just your take on what you've seen from the Trailblazers in the early season.
Yeah, some of it has been better than I thought it would be. I think we knew that they would be up and down. The fact that they could win a couple of games on the road. They weren't great teams that they beat on the road.
But you win 3 straight.
You win 3 straight games. 2 of them on the last 2 games of the road trip, and the first one at home. And I think that is really good. I think the game tonight, this Sunday, is kind of a lot of what we're going to see. They looked like they had control, and what was it, a 26-2 run at the end of the game, and they end up not being able to hold on.
Talk about going ice cold. Such a bummer because they appeared to be in control of that game and could have stretched the streak to 4 straight against a team that had not won a game this year.
Yeah, first win of the year for Memphis. I think we are going to see that kind of thing where they're going to be really up and down. One of the real positive things, Shaden Sharp. He's playing some really, really good basketball right now.
It's been nice to see Shaden step up, especially with the injuries. Scoot Henderson missing a couple of games now with an ankle injury. Anthony Simons being out 4 to 6 weeks as he deals with the thumb injury. He slid right into the starting role and really been the guy or one of the guys in terms of just being able to get a bucket, your go-to player, and now averaging 20 points per game to start the season and has instantly been pushed into the discussion as most improved player in the NBA.
No, it's early, but it is something. It is a good conversation to have. A couple of other things that I've noticed is Jeremy Grant has gotten very aggressive on the offensive end.
You like to see that?
And you like to see that. He needs to be. And Malcolm Brogdon is even way better than I thought he was. I mean, we know he was the sixth man of the year.
Yeah.
So you know he has some skills.
Yeah.
But playing in Boston, we never saw him.
For sure.
So I didn't know what we were getting, and I think that he's, he is a real calming influence. I think in a lot of games, we'll see him as one of the closers. That he'll be out there at the end of the game because he's a guy who understands it. He's been there. He's been in the playoffs, and he'll know what to do at the end of a game.
He brings such a veteran presence to that team, and you can visually, it's visible out there. When you're watching the game, you say, wait, oh, Brogdon's doing his thing again.
Yes.
And you touched on that. And even Brogdon mentioned this in one of the post-game press conferences a week ago on just being that veteran for Scoot Henderson and helping him with stuff on and off the court.
Yes, yeah. I think he's a great guy to be the one to do that. He's not the focal point of things on the team, but he sure knows how to play.
And I will say, Ayton as well.
Yeah.
Outside of the Sunday game against Memphis, pretty quiet game, but overall, he's really stepped up.
Really
Rebounding has been there. He's been a presence defensively as well. Just a solid performer for the past week or so.
Yeah, and I think, after one of the games, Chauncey was talking a little bit about how they might want to try to really include him in the offense a little bit more.
Okay.
He's skilled down there in the paint.
For sure.
Got a little jump hook, got a turnaround shot.
Good finisher, too.
Good finisher. So I think that they might try and get him a few more touches on the offensive end, probably at certain times. Coming out of a timeout, there will be certain times when it'll really work.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're too dominating yet, but he thinks so.
Yeah, but the past week, though, was solid. He's building towards that as well. And they're going to need him to win games. And
absolutely.
They're 3-4 right now, but definitely a nice week for them as we continue to kind of ride that Portland Trailblazers wave.
Going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he is Art. I'm Orlando. Thank you so much for rocking with us here on KGW Sports Plus.